There have been spate of communications on. There have been spate of communications on brokers ISF and its functioning, and SEBI circulars have made mention. It was a good idea to introduce its functioning and its work to the media and world at large. So that's the background of this program. On the stage we have with us Chairperson SEBI, needs no introduction, Ms. Madhuri Puriboch. We have Kamleshi, WTM SEBI. ISF has two co-chairs, one from the MII side and one from the broker member association. From the MII side, Mr. Piyush Chaurasia. Piyush bhai, you could wave. Everybody knows you. And from the broker association side, currently we have Mr. Nirav Gandhi. We also have the heads of the three major broker associations. Is run by NSE, and they are the hosts for today. The host and secretariat, on behalf of them, Mr. Ashish, to kindly give a welcome address, please.
Respected SEBI chairperson, whole-time member, my broker friends, members from SEBI's senior team, all the MII CEOs and other senior people who have come, the brokers, and also other participants who have also come, and media accept, and it has already kind of the industry standard forum for the broking industry, and there are many such examples which SEBI is currently working on, so I would leave that to Madam Chairperson to discuss. But there is a methodology which is evolving in how to collaborate with the regulated entities and the regulators, and that's where basically it's a very interesting example of how to collaborate, how to cooperate. To be part of this function, although I am not part of the industry standard forum, just because the venue is here, I get to speak, that's why I'm speaking. And thank you, Uttam, for that. But eventually, the industry standard forum has to take up, meet the mandate that SEBI has. SEBI is putting itself on the industry standard forum, but also it will evolve. It's not something that is going to remain static, or it will not stop having a problem. It will have some or other issues that will come up, and it will have to work together to resolve to the SEBI's expectations and also to the public's expectations. With that, without taking much further time, let me welcome all of you to NSE's auditorium, and I'm sure we will have a great discussion on this. Thank you very much.
I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Uttam Bagri. I've been appointed as the Sherpa of the broker ISF. What we'll do is we'll run through a small presentation to give you some idea कि ये बला क्या है. कि brokers ISF है, we all know, but for the people at large. So this was set up in September 2023. There was a meeting between the broker associations and SEBI chairperson, and a pilot project was announced. Now the ABC, the ANMI, BPF and CPI were asked to anchor this project, and basically tasked with the specific objective of setting standards of implementing the various regulatory initiatives. Not the what. The what will be given, हमें क्या करना है, what is to be done will be given by the regulatory authorities. कैसे करना है, how it is to be done, please set standards. Because we are the practitioners, we are the people on the ground, the way we can do it probably would not be done as well by anyone else. Now, it's also interesting composition of the brokers ISF, which members should be aware of, members of the media and everyone. So, of course, we have representatives from the three member associations. We have representatives from every market infrastructure institution, the stock exchanges, the clearing corporations, and the depositories. Not only that, to make it complete, more comprehensive, we also have specific representatives from bank USBs, non-bank USBs, foreign custodians, domestic custodians, and high frequency trading firms, both domestic and foreign. Apart from that, we also have supporting the deliberations, the back office vendors, the front office vendors. In fact, the meeting which we just had, pura room bhar gaya, because we have tried to be very inclusive. It is very well designed that way. And बना दिया, there's so many committees, so many forums, दुनिया में बहुत कुछ है. What have you done? What has happened? Now from that September till date, we have had 18 meetings. Okay. Literally a meeting every week, physical, virtual, mixed, where many issues we have are being taken up by us. More than 100 agenda items done, the smallest of issues to big ones. And what happens to the agenda? Either it's discussed, still under discussion, maybe we don't have a consensus, maybe we can't set the good standards. Sometimes we withdraw, okay, boss, this is not a great idea, let's not pursue this. Or if not that, then it becomes a recommendations either to the MIs or to SEBI. Because if it's a routine operational matter, then it goes to MIs. But if it requires some kind of regulatory intervention, then it goes to SEBI. Already introduced the current office bearers of brokers ISF, the structure. We have the two co-chairs, we have the Sherpa, we have the secretariat, and SEBI MRSD is the nodal point of contact. The department which is supposed to keep an eye on us is the department we have to go to every time. So we set the standards, fine, and our deliberations lead to circulars, clarifications for MIs. There are certain, it would be crazy to go through the 100 examples that we have gone through, but I'll take 5. Since September till date, there are 5 SEBI circulars which have been issued, which is in public domain, which is mentioned of the contributions or the recommendations or the inputs of the brokers ISF. Let's start with this. And each one of them is pretty unique in the way it's being handled. Most important terms and conditions. Every capital market participant would say कि वो KYC document मोटा सा कोई नहीं पढ़ता. People sign what they sign, right? And कुछ समझ भी नहीं आ रहा क्या हो रहा है. And then it was again SEBI decided कि boss, we need to issue a document which is simple, more like a 10 commandment style, simple, lucid language. Anybody who reads it understands it. कौन लिखेगा? First SEBI would have tried to write it, then MIs would have tried to draft something. They said, give it to ISF. And then there was a circular issued by SEBI, which is very interesting. A copy of circulars have been circulated, which says, broker ISF will issue something nice. If they don't, we will, as a regulator. That was a very interesting circular, ma'am. Never heard it. And हम लोग सब सकते हैं आगे क्या करना है. And then we have come out with something. I request, I don't think there's much media coverage. Well, एक और paper आएगा. Please read it. Okay, and ask probably your a young adult to read it and say तुमको समझ में आया कि नहीं. A lot of effort has gone by the practitioners to draft something that we would be proud of. Okay, I'm sticking my neck out here on behalf of all of us. So there you are. Upstream of client funds. All right, beautiful. The asset, the funds of the clients. The securities are nice, pledge, repledge, everything's fine. The funds of the securities are can potentially lie with the broker. Not a great idea. Though as every broker will say it's safe, but how can I make it safer? The entire money of the clients should go to the clearing corporation and should be allocated in the name of the client. A beautiful idea, we agree. In fact, whenever it was in any committee discussion where brokers were there, we supported this idea subject to a few requirements which have been introduced. For example, direct paying of their balances. But the way the framework came, there were lots of operational difficulties. Everybody was crying कि boss क्या चल रहा है? And then ISF sat and literally rewrote the circular, trying to meet the regulatory objectives and at the same time ensuring that each and every rupee of the client is protected. And we managed to do something which meets the regulatory expectations and nobody is crying about it. Running account settlement. Every quarter, every month, as the client chooses, we are supposed to distribute the money back to the clients. And we had this small window Friday evening, all right, where you had to give the money back. And I have friends in media here who said, boss, kya chal raha hai? How is it practical? In fact, practically, many brokers had to restrict the trading of the clients on Friday so that I can finish before the bank closes settlement. A simple tweak by making it over Friday, Saturday has made life simple. A broker can easily meet the regulatory expectations. Plus, again, how the circular is connected. If you look at the upstreaming circular, all client accounts were broken into two parts, the incoming and outgoing. So now it was possible to ensure that the incoming money is not used for outgoing for settlements. Using that circular, we could give inputs how the running account settlement can be divided over Friday, Saturday without losing the sanctity of the process and still making it possible. When the whole banking system ro raha tha, brokers ro rahe the, and for a good thing I'm roenge, koi dikkat nahi. But now, without crying, I can still continue doing the good thing. That's how it comes in the third example. Fourth is probably the simplest thing. We used to upload data about our XYZ. Over a period of time, the data was taken directly from banks, from clearing corporations by the regulatory authorities. So मेरा data upload करने का कोई sense नहीं रह गया. So we said that these are the redundant uploads. Thak, the circulars were out and the redundant uploads are being removed. This is something we have not asked to be changed. This is something we have bought in. Your debit card gets hacked, you call someone, you freeze it, fine. Your trading account gets hacked, what do you do? Before broker ISF, SEBI, the MIIs, they would say probably design some system and kuch de dete. No, we were asked as ISF, you tell me how do I solve this problem? And then we gave our recommendations. A framework has been issued and detailed standard guidelines, again, we have been asked to issue by 1st April, we are going to do it. This is giving you some idea of what we are up to. Kya karna hai is something we are told. Kaise karna hai is something that we'll give our inputs. In consultation with SEBI, hopefully we come out with decent standards. And I've just stuck to 5 examples. There are dozens more which have been done at the MIS level, exchanges, clearing corporations, which is fine. But this is just to give everybody a flavor of what we're up to. And like landlord, tenant, kutta, billi, regulator, regulated, always at war. But then today, in a public forum on behalf of an entire community, I compliment SEBI, top management for creating this structure where we can actually give our inputs. Okay? Sitting with MIs, getting the MI inputs. Also, really need to thank the nodal department which is talking to us. Okay? It takes a lot of patience to deal with us. Bhag jao is a very easy answer. But acha bol kya bolna hai? It takes a lot of patience. So I really need to put that compliment. And the MIs trying to explain us their issues, their perspectives, and trying to get a nice consensus. So this is something I really need to do in a public forum. And that's a little idea of what Brokers ISF is up to. So that, pata to chale kya chal raha hai. Now you can have some interesting thoughts on that. Without much ado, now I would like to hand over the mic to Chairperson, Ms. Butch, who will probably, I gave you the working and the composition, but the vision would come from that side, so over to there. We'll just load the presentation in a minute, ma'am.
Thank you, Uttam. And I think these claps are due to Uttam, not just for the presentation, but for his role as Sherpa. I think this word is very, very meaningful, this word Sherpa, because we all know where it comes from, right? I mean, Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary. And it is true because Edmund Hillary had said that he would have never made it to the top if it hadn't been for Tenzing Norgay. So I think a forum like this, and we are seeing this play out in the various pilots that we are running, that the role of the Sherpa is very critical. So all that tali was for role as Sherpa. I have only a few slides to share with you, to share the spirit of what you've just seen and heard. And I think it all comes from our belief that in India today, in our markets, we have some of the best practices globally. So there was a time where every time, there was an advice to us to say, why don't you benchmark global best practices? And today when we look at it, it is other people in various fora, in various global fora, who actually come to us and say, we would like to understand how India has done this and India has done that. So I think each one of us in this ecosystem can take great pride that today we are counted as the best practice on multiple domains. And in my view, this whole Industry Standards Forum is due to become another such best practice, just waiting to be crystallized. It's already showing the results, we just have to give it a more concrete form going down. Now the important thing is, and this is where I'm going to spend most of my time today with you, best practice doesn't just arrive somewhere by magic. There is no magic in this world. There is a lot of hard work, right? So first comes the question of vision. And I think that vision, while, Uttam may have been very generous to say that the vision comes from SEBI, it is not enough. Imagine if SEBI had this vision, but the MIIs did not reciprocate or the industry did not reciprocate, वो एक हाथ से ताली नहीं बजती है. So you need the entire ecosystem to have that shared vision, and for people to say that what is right for the market is right for me, and I may have to bear some short-term pain, but I know that in the medium term, in the long term, this is what is going to benefit the market, and therefore I am going to be part of that growth story of the market, and therefore I am committed to this. And I think that indeed it has proved to be so. If you see the entire broking space, most of you are aware that there has been, over the last 4 or 5 years, a large number of changes that have been brought about by SEBI. The number of regulations that we have brought into this space is fairly large. Now look what has happened. The market is just blooming and growing because it's now built on such solid foundations. The investor has faith in the ecosystem. The regulator has faith in the ecosystem. Systemic risk has been largely eliminated. And therefore, the opportunity to build a really tall superstructure on this very deep foundation is what is leading to that growth. So that vision has to be a shared vision to begin with, right at the bottom. Uske bina best practice nahi banti hai. The next thing is experience. Often when we talk about regulation, and increasingly now you're seeing that SEBI's consultation papers, etc., all refer to data. What is that data? That data is nothing but experience. Because this is what we as a regulator have seen. This is what we have observed. And therefore, you are constantly evolving, because with every new piece of information, with every new piece of data, with every new experience you have, you improve things. So while there are things in the history of a market which go down as very, very significant milestones, we should not forget all the little improvements that were done along the way to actually bring the entire ecosystem to where it is. And that is based on experience. And which is why, I use this word very frequently, that the success of the Brokers Industry Standards Forum, and this is not true for many of our other pilots, the success of this forum has been that the practitioners came to the table. They invested their time, effort, and energy, and the senior people who had years and years of experience came to the table, and therefore they were able to take such quick decisions amongst themselves. Yes, I'm told that there are a few contentious areas where abhi bhi bahut ladai jhagda chal raha hai forum mein. Thankfully, we are out of it. We are very happy. But the point is that it's so much easier to have consensus when they are actual practitioners and they know what they are talking about, and they can, challenge each other. They can build consensus amongst each other because they're all practitioners. So that experience is extremely important. The third thing is development. So what do I mean by development is this point I made of incremental development, right? It's like a child when the child is growing up and it is developing, its brain is developing, right? Yes, you can see some distinct things when they become 3 years old or 5 years old or 10 years old, but there is this continuous development which is happening. And I think that is again the spirit in which the ISF has engaged with us. So when I first asked, the whole issue came up on this upstreaming of funds, and we said, okay, chalo, aap banao standards. So once there was good traction on that, the industry came back and said, by the way, we have some more points we want to discuss in the forum. So I said, okay, how many do you have? We have about 50. I said, what, 50? I mean, like 50 things are bothering you. I said, yes, 50 things are bothering us. So I said, very good, bring 50 to the table. I'm told that finally, after a lot of consultation within the entire stakeholder group, it actually went up to 100, and 100 points were listed. And each one of those 100 has, in the last 4 months, at least been discussed once, at least once, to determine whether it stays on the list, it is withdrawn, whether it's high priority, whether it's medium, long-term priority. And what is it? Is it impacting a large number of people? Is it specific to only a few people? Now, this really is what I think the whole value of this is, that it's not just about the enthusiasm of 1 or 2 circulars. It will be a continuous process. Today, we will clean up the backlog. If there are 100 points, I'm sure we will clean those up. By the way, I'm told that the target timelines for all of this is stretching max up to March. And I'm delighted. I'm absolutely delighted, and I'm sure my colleagues in MIRSD are equally delighted. Unka to super kiare. Matlab, their performance for the year is now guaranteed to be, we have a system. You are either normal, or you are above par, or you're below par. So this team, so you can contribute to their, Kamlesh? Inki to nivrutti ho gayi. So these guys will be very happy. Everybody will be very happy. Now comes the question of performance. See, none of what we want is at the cost of performance. What do I mean by performance? Either the performance in terms of the ease of trading by the investors, or the performance of the market as a whole, the growth. We do not want any of these, our regulations, to come in the way of that performance, right? So which is why the solutions which the industry comes up with are beautiful, because, as he said, a simple thing of saying, instead of Friday, make it Friday and Saturday. No trading on Saturday. So, no regulatory concern if it goes Friday plus Friday. So only the industry knows how to create that win-win. So we are so delighted. And every time, the proposal comes to me and I say, Acha, Mia Bibi razi hai? Meaning usually ke MIIs and brokers razi hai. So then now I've started asking, aur Qazi bhi razi hai? So the department also. So what I'm finding is that because of very, very mature filtering at the forum stage itself, they don't allow proposals through which are not sensible or which are blatantly against the regulatory intent. They don't allow it through. So everything that is really coming through, our teams are very happy to say, yes, yes, sab kuch, yes, yes, chal raha hai. So this entire thing, without impacting performance, either for the investor or for the ecosystem, is what is the beauty of having practitioners, on the table. Sorry, ethic. I think one statement was made today while we were all in the boardroom, that the one mantra that the ISF keeps always highest as a guiding North Star, is that we know and understand the regulatory intent. What is the regulators, what is SEBI's intent? What are they trying to do here? The recommendation should not violate that intent. So very well put by Mr. Gandhi, and I think if that is the North Star that is guiding all the discussions, we can't expect or hope for, in fact, anything better than that. Knowledge goes without saying. right? Because if that knowledge were not brought to the table, finding a solution is impossible. Imagine putting a whole bunch of people with no understanding of the subject into a room. Where are you going to find a solution? So that goes without saying. Potential. To me, potential is a reflection of hope. You know, if people think, "Arey, kuch nahi hoga, ye to it's a waste of time, this, that," you'll never get there. If you have hope, if you can see the potential, and that is the duty of everybody, each of the three main players in this entire, you know, in this entire system, which is the brokers and the MIIs and SEBI, unless each one has the hope that we can find a solution, you will not find a solution. So there is no place for pessimists and naysayers. These committees can only be manned by people who have hope and belief. And all those skeptics को थोड़ा बाहर ही रखना चाहिए. Okay? Competence is sort of linked to knowledge, but I think the difference is knowledge tends to be a little bit more academic. Competence focuses on the effectiveness. So again, the experience that comes to bear, that this is how it can be most effective, right? And again, creating that win-win situation. Also in terms of, I think increasingly, as we go forward, it will be about technology, that what is it that technology can do for us to make things easier. And when you put all of this together is when you get best practice. This is not a magic wand that suddenly one day you get best practice. So hats off to the entire Industry Standards Forum of Brokers. It's really been a pleasure, and thanks to the broking community and the MIIs to really make this happen. So it's really been this, you know, partnership with everybody bringing their own piece and their knowledge, competence, and everything to the table. And these are, of course, you know, the main participants in this entire process. And SEBI is most delighted, because for us, what does best practice really mean? It means that risk comes down, cost comes down, investor trust goes up, and investor convenience goes up. To us, that's what defines best practice. And that's what ISF has delivered. And we're looking forward to the rest of those recommendations, which are expected to come very, very shortly. And with that, you know, we think that our role as the capital market, this is my favorite slide, I use it everywhere, because finally the markets are nothing without the real economy. And our job is to really fuel the real economy. And therefore, our success means the success of the real economy and the nation. And that's what we're all here to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. We can now open the floor for questions. There are ushers with mics on both sides. You could just raise your hand and ask for the mic. और जिसकी आवाज़ बुलंद है, they can always.
You can just tell us who you want
Yeah.
to answer that
And
question.
you could mention whether the question is targeted to someone in particular, or any of us could actually take the answer. Brijesh ji?
मैम, आपने एथिक्स की बात की, लेकिन बार बार ये जो सवाल उठते हैं प्रॉपर्टी ट्रेडिंग के मिसयूज़ को लेकर, तो इस पर क्या आपने सोचा है, कोई व्यू बनाया है, क्या फाइंडिंग्स अब तक के दिखती हैं, क्या सजेस्ट करता है आपको?
सो एक चीज़ तो तय हो गई आज कि फाइनली जो भी हम तय करेंगे उनके स्टैंडर्ड्स तो ISF ही बनाएंगे, तो वो तो आज तय हो गई बात. But I think that there are 3 or 4 aspects of this. I think one relates to settlement. So should there be segregation of settlement of proprietary trades and retail trades? So that is something that we can certainly look at. So right now it is segregation of the collateral and so on. We can also look at segregation of settlement, so that there's no netting, right, between client and proprietary. The other is, we understand that there is, among some players, and there are always some, you know, people who will try and circumvent the law. There are some people who are permitting access to their clients through the prop account for a variety of reasons, including perhaps wanting to fund their margin, etc., not collecting client margin. So there are some people who are doing that. And I think that the industry has made a representation to us that there are different revenue models that brokers have, and that some of those revenue models may look like it is misuse, but it is not misuse. So we will analyze all of that in a very balanced sort of way to separate the wheat from the chaff. And we will find a way to, as we've all been discussing, make a win-win out of it. And I think that the confidence we now have in the standards forum and the completely balanced and mature way in which all their recommendations are coming, I think we have a lot of confidence that we will find a solution to this. There are some people who are doing it, not all, but some. So we will find a solution.
Ma'am, this practice of keeping the market, changing the market holiday last minute and keeping it open on a particular day is not sort of getting. I mean, there is some criticism for that. Would SEBI like to sort of put in place a system where such practice can be avoided?
So, as you know that the Maharashtra state had announced the holiday, Reserve Bank had announced markets being closed. Now, from our perspective, we thought of it in two ways. One is to say that it is globally not a holiday, but there are so many national holidays that we have in our country which are not globally holidays. So that's not a problem. What could be a problem for some investors is that this was unplanned. So normally when there is a planned holiday, people know that, okay, if I have an open position and I want to close it, then I should have an opportunity to close it, right? So what was really important was that investors should have an opportunity to plan their positions, close, take, whatever they want to do, and that the suddenness of the announcement of a holiday should not cause them any inconvenience. So therefore, we declared that Saturday would be an open day, so that if anyone had that problem, that they were planning to square off a position, let us say on Monday, now Monday is closed, so therefore they would still have that opportunity on a Saturday, and so it was declared as a full working day. So our understanding is wherever anyone had such an issue, they were able to use Saturday in order to do whatever risk management they needed to do. So our understanding is that there was no inconvenience really caused to anybody.
One more question, ma'am. मैम SECC रेगुलेशंस के 81F और 83C को लेकर काफ़ी दिनों से कॉन्फ्लिक्ट चल रहा है, डिस्कशंस भी हुई आई थिंक.
तो एक ये इशू है, सेक्शंस नहीं याद, आप मुझे बता दें कौन से रेगुलेशन की बात कर रहे हैं. आप तो सेबी में ही आ जाए अब. हाँ राजेश.
यस मैम. तो ये एक इशू है जो इंडस्ट्री के साथ काफी दिनों से.
कौन सा रेगुलेशन है?
81F SECC रेगुलेशंस मैडम.
व्हाट इज दैट?
ये ब्रोकर्स के एलिजिबिलिटी को लेकर के है, एंड सेकेंडली ये वाला सेकंड पार्ट इसमें है कि वो क्या बिजनेस कर सकते हैं, क्या नहीं कर सकते हैं.
हाँ.
तो ये काफी कॉन्फ्लिक्टिंग मैटर है.
अच्छा बताएं क्या कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है?
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट इसलिए कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ये है कि वो उनको क्लैरिटी नहीं है कि हमें क्या करना है, क्या नहीं करना है, क्या बिजनेसेस अलाउड हैं, क्या नहीं अलाउड हैं.
ऐसा?
क्योंकि इंस्पेक्शंस में कई बार कहा जाता है कि नहीं आप ये नहीं कर सकते.
अच्छा, तो पहली बात तो ये है कि हम लोग इंस्पेक्शंस तो अब ज़्यादातर ऑफ साइट ऑटोमेटेड करना चाह रहे हैं, शुरुआत भी हो गई है. इसमें दो बहुत अच्छी चीज़ें निकल के आती हैं कि जो भी हमारी रेगुलेशन की इंटरप्रिटेशन है, अब उसको तो हमको एल्गो में लिखना पड़ता है, और एल्गो में कोई एम्बिग्विटी का रूम नहीं होता है, या तो इस पार या उस पार. सो इस वजह से जो भी हम ऑटोमेशन कर रहे हैं उसका सबसे बड़ा बेनिफिट यही है कि इंटरप्रिटेशन में अब कोई एम्बिग्विटी नहीं रहती, क्योंकि हम एल्गो में ही कोड करते हैं कि दिस इज़ अलाउड, दिस इज़ नॉट अलाउड. सो पहली तो ये बात है कि वी आर इंक्रीजिंगली मूविंग इन दैट डायरेक्शन, सो दैट शुड बिकम वेरी क्लियर. अब बाकी रही बात, एटलीस्ट आई हैव नॉट कम अक्रॉस एनी लेटर. You are deliberating on this matter? Excellent.
Ma'am.
Gotcha. Excellent. So it looks like, so this is wonderful. So it looks like the industry forum themselves, not this forum, but they themselves have constituted a working group with the MIIs to try and understand what this is. So I'm sure that, there must be something, but it has certainly not reached me at the moment to say that dikkat kya hai. So for us, if there is any ambiguity, it is our job to clarify. Now, if somebody wants that it should be changed for some reason, and there is some logic for doing that, that is a separate issue which goes through its own cycle of consultation and committees and our board, etc. But if there's any clarity required, I'm sure we can give that very quickly. Sometimes लोगों को जब रूल पसंद नहीं आता है वो बोलते हैं क्लैरिटी नहीं है होता है ऐसे
This move to allow direct listing at Gift City, do you think it will camouflage our markets or it will sort of complement our onshore markets? How do you see it playing out?
So, I think it's still early days. I would think that we would need a little more development on this front before we can actually reach any conclusions on this. So,
Yeah, can we have the mic that side?
Sorry to keep asking you this weekly, ma'am, but have you had or made any progress in the conversations with the various stakeholders on extended trading hours? Since the entire fraternity is sitting here, it might be a good point to get clarified, right?
So since, I sort of took approval from our colleagues here just now in that room to share this. And I said, I seek your permission to quote you, which is that there are very divergent views and diverse views right now, even amongst the broking community. And of course, we have not yet reached the stage of asking the investors themselves what they want. So that's a different level of consultation and feedback that would be required. But at the moment, my understanding is that the broking community itself is divided. It's a divided house. And there is a lot of discussion and deliberation going on. And that, they would be reaching some conclusion one way or another, in some reasonable timeline. But according to us, that is, the first stage. That what do the MIIs think is the first stage? What do the brokers think is the second stage? What do the investors think is the third stage? And we would need to take all of that into consideration. I don't know. Maybe soonish.
Ma'am, just to add to that question, since you've had certain amount of discussion and there's a clear divided house that, as you say,
हमारे साथ discussion नहीं हुआ है. ये तो आज ही मुझे पता चला है, which is why I took their permission to share this today.
So, I mean, if we could just understand in terms of divergent views on the, not on the affirmatory side, but on the other side, what are these views, just to understand what are the, because we hear a lot about the positives of it or how it helps, but don't hear as much about the negatives or how it sort of impacts. So if you could just tell us that.
Yeah, we have get some positive confirmation or non-confirmation by the end of this month. All the associations have committed to meet with all the members. Rather, the board will decide. And probably in February, we'll be giving our recommendations about whether we want or we do not want it. Yeah. So that work in process is there. So can't say anything right now. Yeah.
To answer your question, Yash, one of the questions we will certainly ask the MIIs is that finally, everything is system driven. And there is a certain end of day EOD, BOD as we call it for all systems. And there is also a requirement for maintenance Okay, it's like saying you want to run a marathon. Okay, आपने marathon run की, उसके बाद आप थोड़े दिन तो rest करते हैं ना, अब अगली marathon से पहले. So there is a certain amount of time required by the systems also for doing maintenance, for doing migrations, for doing upgrades, for adding functionality. So if you have a, in theory, if you take it to the extreme and say 24-hour exchange, then you will be talking about changing the tires in an F1 track without even going to the pit stop. अब ये कैसे होगा, हम तो MII से पूछेंगे कि भैया आप बगैर पिट स्टॉप के आप गाड़ी के टायर कैसे चेंज करेंगे. So this is an important issue from a resilience of the technology point of view, which constantly needs maintenance, upgrade and functionality addition. So that's certainly an additional question apart from the feedback from various constituents that we would be asking.
Ma'am, there is... Yeah, hi ma'am, good evening. There is one question that, from its inception, SEBI has always avoided any kind of SRO, self-regulatory body. Is this likely to become a self-regulatory body?
So I think that there is an important difference in the two. Self-regulation by the very definition says regulation, right? Which means the what. Now, what you heard, Uttam talk about is the how. So, the what of the regulation, what is it that the market participant is required to do, is still the purview of SEBI, its advisory committees, its board, etc. That is not being delegated. What is being delegated is the how. So it's a subtle difference, but a very important difference.
On the issue of extended timing.
Yeah, we can hear you.
On the issue of extended timing, I think SEBI can take a cue from the commodity exchanges. They are doing longer hours than equity, since you said about, F1 race and all.
So first of all, you will agree that the volumes are of a different order of magnitude altogether. कितना होगा? I don't know. How many zeros आपको ज़्यादा पता होगा, आप add कर लीजिए. बहुत फर्क पड़ता है. Okay. Secondly, in terms of the evolution of the markets, if you see the evolution of the equity markets and the F&O markets and how many things have happened in its evolution over the last just 5 years aap gin le, versus in the commodities market, there's been a handful. So that's why I said you also need time to add to functionality and to do testing and so on. So I think the two markets are not comparable. I would not compare them at all.
Yeah, the lady there. Yeah.
Ma'am, last year you had announced about the T+0 settlement. Are there any deliberations being done by the Industry Standards Forum?
So I'm not sure if it's on your list, Uttam. So first of all, it is optional. So that could be one reason why right now it's not, it's not mandated on anybody. So therefore, that could be one reason. But my sense is that as these things evolve, some of the accumulated items of the past are right now higher priority for the forum. So once those get cleared, and if most of them would get cleared by March.
We have given our recommendations on this instance.
Yeah, post that the discussion paper was issued. So now post discussion it is now a different level. Yeah.
So it's even better. So the forum is being even more proactive in terms of saying that this is what our suggestions are, so that there is ease of compliance and ease of implementation at that stage. So it's already been given and baked into the consultation paper.
Ma'am, just one question, and I would try to frame this in the best way that I can. There have been instances in the past where, and very recent past, where companies without any identifiable promoters, but certain important individuals, former promoters, been taking calls as far as the corporate actions are concerned, very important corporate actions. Things not ending the right way, retail investors taking brunt of it, very large institutions part of it, nobody objecting. I mean, I just want, not talking about what happened or what SEBI is doing there, but as an ideology, what is your view at such companies and when such important decisions are to be taken where so many of retail investors and institutions are involved?
आज तो हम ISF की बातें कर रहे हैं.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I wanted to understand if ISF writes the how-to part of the regulation, does it have any legal sanctity, like how SEBI circulars have legal sanctity before a court of law?
Yeah. So the way it's expected to be done is that the Industry Standards Forum publishes the standard. It's owned by them. However, first of all, it is crafted in consultation with SEBI. Because if the regulation says go north and the standard says go south, obviously there's a disconnect. So it has to be in consultation with SEBI, but it's the standard of the industry. Now, what we will be doing henceforth going forward, and in a way already implemented, as Uttam said, that we will issue a circular which will say that the industry participants, let's say in this case brokers, are required to follow, in respect of this area, are required to follow the standards which have been set by the industry forum. So as I said, once we are done with our learnings of all these pilots, we will have a proper regulation which will recognize the concept of the industry standards forum, put down certain guidelines, etc. around it. And then, but already we have said that this is because it was done on a pilot basis. So we've already said कि ये forum है और इसके ये standards हैं, आप उसको follow करिए. So it will be legally binding because the circular will say you have to follow that standard. And this has been tried and tested in the past with AMFI. So there are numerous things, let's say like liquidity stress testing, right? Liquidity risk stress testing. So SEBI says that you please follow the stress testing mechanism as stipulated by AMFI, or the valuation of bonds. So the SEBI circular says please follow the valuation waterfall as stipulated by AMFI. And that waterfall is published in consultation with SEBI. So it will have complete legal backing. It already has, because that's how our circulars are worded.
So, see, first of all, one thing is very clear, that regulation, so far as regulation is concerned, that part rests with SEBI and that has not been delegated. The statutory power to regulate must come from a statute, and that is with SEBI. So, therefore, it was made very clear in the presentation that what is with SEBI and how is we are seeking advice from ISF. Now, this is a new experiment, right? Now, how also is not part of the legislation right now, but if they recommend a good implementation model which align with the regulation, then we issue it as a circular, or MII is issued as a circular. Now, that has a legal force. Now, very important point here, what chairperson quoted about Mr. Gandhi, that when they sit together and when they decide, they keep the intention of the legislation in mind. Now, that's a very important point, because they could have come out with a recommendation which is absolutely not aligned with the main legislation. So, what would have happened? That we would not have issued that circular. So, that experiment would have failed. So, the full credit to ISF, all the 30 members of ISF who understood that whatever we are going to recommend must be in line with the regulation and for the interest of the capital market. Now, that is also what in our internal meeting Uttam said, that for the first time we felt that, whatever we are deciding is going to be implemented, and that kind of, involvement and stake that got built up gave them immense satisfaction. So this is what the experiment is, that ISF understand what is this role, and they give recommendation in accordance with that role, so that it eases out implementation, ease of doing business, all that government is aiming for, capital market is aiming for, everybody is aiming for. Thank you.
This ISF structure will remain going ahead, or is it just for the...
No. So we have briefed our board that from the various pilots that we are running, we see tremendous benefit in it. And therefore, it is our desire that it should become a permanent feature of the regulatory architecture. So we will take that sooner or later, sooner than later, to our board for making it a permanent part of our regulatory architecture. So, for instance, we would need to come out with a regulation saying that we recognize something called Industry Standards Forum. How should this forum be created? What should be the representation in that forum? How should the chair be elected? How should their meetings happen? It needs to be under, right now we have seen it under the aegis of the stock exchange. So how will it function? So we will have to formalize that whole mechanism, which has right now been run as a pilot and is working very well, but now we have our learnings across. So we will then put that what if the standards forum fails to come up with consensus? Okay, what happens under that situation? What happens if they come up with a consensus but it fails in the consultation with SEBI? Then what happens? So we will have a framework for this new, I would say, block in the regulatory architecture, and all of these things will get defined and based on the learnings that we've had in the various pilots, and then it will all get formalized. That's how it will become permanent.
Better with the mic, please.
Given that you're trying this experiment not just with the brokers industry, but you're trying this with corporates as well,
yes.
Are you going to create this kind of directive principles framework for all of the standards forums that you're working with?
There'll be a single framework.
And it will apply to all?
It will apply to all. So we have not just for listed companies, we have listed companies, we have brokers, we have PMS guys, we have mutual funds, as I said, we anyway have. AIFs, FPIs. So we have we have a large number of pilots running parallelly for us to get all the learnings. So, but the framework will be a single framework which will be used across.
And this will have regulatory, this will have legal strength.
Yes.
So you will mandate how lack of consensus will be determined or acted upon within these frameworks?
Yeah, because already our learning is that there have been, on some of the subjects in some of these fora, they've come back and said that we are divided on this. We are not going to be able to reach consensus. So we are giving it back to SEBI, aap nakki karo kya karna hai. And it comes from, I won't give an example because I think it's not right on that forum, that they say that this is structurally the industry has two type of people, and therefore one set will always believe this, the other set will always believe that. There's no way we can structurally reach a common ground, so we're giving this matter back to SEBI, you decide what to do. So it is possible that they don't have a consensus within the forum, and as I said, they can also have consensus but it's not aligned with the regulations. So then obviously it would again fail. So you have to then have a framework where if all goes well, excellent. If it doesn't, what's the next step? What is the backup? How does it work?
Sorry, one last question on this. To my memory at least, the SEBI Act doesn't seem to provide for any of this. Will you require legislative change, or will you keep it within directive principles?
No, so it doesn't require a change in the it doesn't require a change in the Act. We need a regulation for this framework.
Got that. Thank you.
Ma'am, I just wanted to understand something. Of course, of course, in the recent past, we've seen how SEBI was very proactive and adamant on the fact that the exchange technology has to be up to date. Glitches can't be tolerated. A lot of things were done, a lot of things were enforced. Of late, we are getting instances almost every month about brokers facing technical glitch, orders not going through, people not being able to square off their positions. If after a glitch it starts, ghost trades being executed. This is as dangerous as exchanges in that case. Just today there is an instance with one of the online brokers. Just want to understand from SEBI's side in terms of regulation, enforcement, and from the broker community, what are we doing about it?
So I'll take a shot at this. So first is that SEBI actually issued a circular last year on broker glitches also. And after that, the MIIs jointly also issued a circular on the framework of how we regulate broker glitches. So under that, there are different kinds of glitches. Glitches which last more than 50 minutes, which last less than 50 minutes. What happens when the first such glitch is reported in the financial year, second glitch, third glitch. So basically the penalty also keeps getting escalated. And after the fifth glitch, what happens? All of that has been issued already as part of the regulatory framework. There might be later on more fine tuning because this is also an early days for everything. But as of now, already a framework has been issued by SEBI and after that by the MIIs of how to deal with technical glitches.
I think that I've also mentioned somewhere else that I think that there are, as we know, there are two types of people, participants in the market, the traders and the investors. So the ones who are medium to long-term investors, if something is not, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying if, something is not available for 15 minutes, it's not such a big deal for them. वो 15 minute बाद कर लेंगे transaction. This impacts the traders more. What is this thing? So my practical advice to everybody has been, since I've run ICICI Direct, as you know, myself with my own two hands, at the end of the day, technology can never be infallible, right? And we've seen across the globe, Ashish, maybe you can quote some examples, exchanges coming down, right? And so many other, market infrastructure systems coming down, and even, large tech companies coming down. So technology finally is also fallible. So if you are such an active trader that 15 minutes is making such a difference to you, then it might be better to have an account with two brokers and you can offset your position if you want to close your position, etc. So it's just sensible, practical advice. I'm not condoning that glitches are a good thing. I'm just saying this is the practical advice. अगर आपको 15-15 मिनट में फर्क पड़ रहा है, तो the practical advice is get a second account.
Yeah. Can we have the mic that side, please?
Thank you.
Is
it on?
Yeah, it is on.
Yeah. So we are hearing you will get the side of the story of the broker's side. But what about the investor side? There is no forum for that. So how do you propose getting the views of the investors, the clients of brokers?
So you're talking about extended trading hours?
No. All the standards that the ISF comes up with. So they are coming up with which have an impact on the clients, the investors.
Yeah.
So unka awaj,
So unki awaz to pehle hi has been baked in the what. So as you know, when we come up with a new regulation, we always do public consultation. So at the stage of saying what is to be done itself, we have our consultation, public consultation, the feedback comes from the investors and we bake that into in the what itself. So their perspective is already baked into what we do.
Okay, thank you.
There are two investor associations that are already part of the ISF. I believe one gentleman is here only here. Yeah, he's here. Yeah.
नमस्ते मैम. मैम दिस साइड. मैम जस्ट कुछ महीनों पहले आपने एमफी के नए ऑफिस के उद्घाटन के समय कहा था कि सीईओज को एड्रेस करते समय कि अब आप सब इस स्टेज पे आ गए हैं तो और कितना स्टॉक ऑप्शन ले लेंगे और कितना कर लेंगे, नेक्स्ट जनरेशन के बारे में भी सोचिए. तो क्या ये इसके पीछे क्या मकसद रहता है, और यही समझना चाहते हैं कि जो सेबी भी अपने जो नियम बनाते हैं, तो क्योंकि अभी जो हम देख रहे हैं वो 40 साल पहले 20 साल पहले कुछ चीज़ें हुई होगी, तो वो अभी अब देख रहे हैं, और अभी जो नियम बनेंगे उनका असर बाद में होगा। तो आपकी जो रूल्स रेगुलेशन में शॉर्ट टर्म देखा जाएगा, नेक्स्ट जनरेशन के लिए भी देखा जाएगा?
आप मुझे एक उदाहरण देंगे? अब मुझे समझने में थोड़ी तकलीफ हो रही है, एक उदाहरण देंगे आप?
यस मैम, श्योर।
हाँ
मैम, आई वॉज कोटिंग योर कोट ओनली।
नहीं, उसको छोड़िए। आपको क्या लग रहा है कि कोई हमने चीज़ की हो जो बहुत शॉर्ट टर्म है और जो लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टर के इंटरेस्ट में नहीं है, ऐसा कोई उदाहरण है? तो क्योंकि मुझे एक भी चीज़ दिमाग में नहीं आ रही है, तो नॉर्मली आई डोंट लाइक टू स्टे वेरी कंसेप्चुअल, यू नो, इट्स प्रैक्टिकल वाली बातें करें कि भैया ये एक एग्जाम्पल है, तो आप कुछ उदाहरण दें तो आई विल बी एबल टू बेटर अंडरस्टैंड।
आई एम एट दैट पॉइंट, आई एम नॉट गेटिंग एनी।
Any other questions from anyone? Yeah. Mics on that side, please. We need.
Yeah, with respect to the regulation on confirmation or denying of market rumors, so could you share what is the kind of feedback that you've got from the industry, and anything that you know, what are the kind of standards that you're
पूरा हमारे कंसल्टेशन पेपर में, उसमें कोई
no, like when you say mainstream media, is it only going to be restricted to India or
सब
globally?
कुछ हो गया है, सब कुछ हो गया है, सब कुछ हो गया है. It's okay, it's all been. So if it's not in the consultation paper, it means that there is full agreement between the Standards Forum and it's part of their consultation with SEBI. If there is full agreement, then there's no need to consult anything more. So only where it is a regulation change and where there is a alternate perspective is where we have to do consultation again, because पहली बार तो हो चुका. So all of that is already covered. So it'll come out in the standards very soon. There's no, let me put it this way, there's no difference of view or any need for an additional perspective.
Right, thank you.
मैम एक सवाल और, ये जो इशू था मैम, सेटलमेंट स्कीम जो प्रपोज किया गया था सैट में, स्पेसिफिकली टू NSCL से जुड़े जो कमोडिटी ब्रोकर्स थे, तो मैम उस पर कोई प्रोग्रेस है अभी तक?
पहली बात तो ये है कि सेट ने रिकमेंडेशन दी है, क्योंकि सेट डायरेक्शन नहीं दे सकता है सेटलमेंट स्कीम बनाने के लिए, और वो रिकमेंडेशन बिल्कुल हमने बहुत ही गंभीरता के साथ लिया है उस रिकमेंडेशन को, और हम कंसल्टेशन कर रहे हैं. इसमें कई पहलू हैं जिनको एग्जामिन करना है, वो सब पहलू हम एग्जामिन कर रहे हैं, और जो भी टाइम फ्रेम है उसके अंदर हम कोशिश करेंगे कि इसमें आगे क्या कदम लिया जाए, उसके बारे में सेट को जानकारी दी जाए या पब्लिक को जानकारी दी जाए.
तो मतलब स्कीम होगी या नहीं होगी सर? मतलब
ये कहना अभी मुश्किल है ना, अभी हम उसको एग्जामिन कर रहे हैं, तो अब उस एग्जामिनेशन में क्या रिजल्ट आएगा तो वो तो अभी हमें भी नहीं पता.
Any more questions? No, that's good. So I think we can formally close the Q&A session. I request our co-chair, Mr. Nirav Gandhi, to propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am, for reposing the faith in us and forming this forum. And let me assure you, as I always spoke in the previous session also, we always have that North Star in mind when we decide. And हमारे फोरम में झगड़े पहले हुए थे, अभी सैटरडे संडे होते हैं, whether this will stand the test of what we are what we want to implement. So उसके बाद ही मंडे का एजेंडा में वो पॉइंट्स प्रेजेंट हो. So there's an internal checks and balances within ourselves, and of course then the MIs have the internal checks and balances, and then of course the MID also has. So it goes through a rigorous process, and quality stuff comes out of it. And thank you everyone, distinguished dignitaries and entire participants and the media. We just wanted to showcase what good work we are doing. And yeah, so just to make everyone aware. And thank you once again. Thank you all.
And Piyush, that there are days when you feel very happy, very, very happy, because you feel that the whole universe is aligned towards doing the right thing. And I think that the way that the Standards Forum has worked really makes us feel like that. And so today, which is just a sort of recognition of that, is a very, very happy day for all of us at SEBI. And everything that's been achieved by the Standards Forum, by the forum, and of course it's Sherpa, is something that we're really, really proud of. You make us very proud. Thank you.